Relaxed Dog Podcast. The podcast where the dogs are the stars of the show. Welcome to the Relaxed Dog Podcast, sponsored by The Relaxed Dog. Thank you for listening. I am your host, Robert Ober, and I hope that you and your dog are well. Now, I just want to give you a little bit of a heads up on this week's interview. I have a chat with my friend Elle, and whilst the audio quality isn't the best, the subject matter needs to be heard. So, Elle was very, very brave. She's a very, very brave young lady. She wants nothing more in this world than to make people smile. And she does talk about a fairly traumatic experience she went through a few years back where she was in an abusive relationship. And the reason that comes up in a podcast like this is because that's when her dog, Bailey, basically saves her life and gives her the courage to move on. So I just want to say that if by chance someone is listening to this and is in a relationship like that inside you do have the courage to do something, and you just need a little trigger to help you activate that courage. If you know, or you think you know someone in that type of toxic relationship, you need to seek advice, professional advice on how that you may be able to help them. And if you've got the slightest, even the slightest idea that you may be the cause of something like that, then you need to seek advice on how to stop yourself, because it just shouldn't be. And I'm going to sort of leave it at that. The impact on people, on life, on society. If I bring it back around to this podcast subject, the impact on a dog in that sort of relationship. And I know most of you people will think, or some of you will think, people are a whole lot more important than dogs, but that environment affects everything in the household and goes far, far beyond the household. And so we move on to some doggy news, and in a weird coincidental way, in this item I had prepared earlier, Stella, who is a 18-week-old Portuguese water dog, is now the newest support dog for the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary in Canada. And Stella's role is she is a support dog to provide different levels of care with victims and survivors of violence and those struggling with mental health issues, or just someone that needs some comfort. So she'll be used in the justice system and stuff like that. So I'll put a link to Stella's got a Twitter account in the show notes. And I'm not going to mention one or two other things that I had because they're too negative and I just don't get what people do to dogs. But the other happy bit of news is a clip has gone viral on Instagram. A lot of you will be able to relate to this one. Some CCTV camera captured the moment just after a guy goes to work and the dog is left in the apartment. The dog gets up, wanders over grabs one of the owner's shoes, takes it back to the lounge, jumps up on the lounge, puts its head down on the shoe, and then goes to sleep. Now, if you want to suggest some things to me or give me some tips or just want to join our little community, you'll find us. We have a Facebook group, the Relaxed Dog Podcast. So feel free to come on over. We welcome everyone. And now we'll cut over to this week's interview with Elle and her Red Cattle X Staffie, Bailey. Okay, welcome, Elle, to the podcast. How are you?
I'm great. My first podcast, so a bit nervous, but let's do this.
Oh, just relax. It's a pleasure talking to you.
No worries. How are you?
I am going extremely well. And I'm really looking forward to hearing all about Bailey.
Yeah, my Bailey boy.
So, like I ask everyone, take us back to the time just before you got Bailey and sort of lead us into the events that eventuated with you and Bailey together.
Okay. So, Bailey and I, we pretty much met in a hopeless place, really, is the root of it. I was in a really nasty relationship with a very nasty person, and I felt very, very alone. So I happened to be talking to a little private rescue, and I saw his brother actually on the post that they were looking for a home. And so with a bit of very careful talking, I convinced my ex that we'll get this dog for me because we just got him a dog, and went up to Sydney, went up to this private rescue, and the person said, right, which one do you want? Because there were three of them. And I said, well, let them out of the kennel and we'll see. Anyway, they were about 10 months old, so of course very energetic. And all the pups were running around, and I stood there, didn't look down, didn't say anything, looked at them, just moved. And the other two got bored, and they started playing with themselves and toys. But Bailey sat on my feet. He looked at me, that piece just sat on my feet. And I looked down at him, and he looked at me, and I said, right, hello, mate. So you're with me now.
I think that's a pretty sort of common thing where we think we're choosing them, but they choose us.
I'm a firm believer of choosing them. They choose you, definitely. And yeah, he sat on my lap the entire way home. Didn't move. Just very quiet. He just sat all the way home.
How were the first few days of Bailey at your home?
Very stressful just because of the situation I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's his nickname, he knew what was going on. He was very intuitive even at that young age. I mean, yes, he was still a puppy, so unfortunately accidents happened in the house, and I had to protect him from what inevitably would have happened if I didn't step in. But he learned very quickly that doing stuff outside was the way to go, and dodging the very big boots was the other side. So he learned very quickly what the situation was.
Yeah, really sorry to hear about that situation that both of you were in.
But he brought us that glimmer of light that I needed to keep going. So yeah, he's been with me since. And he's now 9 years old. Bailey?
So can I ask how long that situation sort of stayed like it was?
9 months.
9 months.
It's worse than I can describe over a podcast, that's for sure.
So do you think Has Bailey sort of like scarred in any way from that type of relationship that he had with the other person in the house?
He's got his tail's not completely straight. One day I didn't do something that I was supposed to do in a quick enough fashion, and the ex slammed his tail into the door.
Mm.
And so he's got a small crooked in his tail, but he didn't turn around and bite. He yelled, he screamed, of course he screamed, but he just cowered away and went straight outside. So he didn't turn around and bite. He didn't do anything like that. He knew that that person was not a good person to do that to.
So during that time, was he mostly outside or inside? Did he?
Outside. He was outside. If it was cold, if the ex happened to be outside the house, I would sneak him in at least to the laundry, just to get some warmth. Otherwise, he was outside. Yeah, he wasn't allowed inside, unless I snuck him in.
Were there any other pets in the household at the time?
Guinea pig.
Okay, and how did Bailey go with them?
He had a look, checked that they were there, and then we had him outside as well, and he left him alone. The ex's dog didn't. It was Jack Russell. He didn't, but he used to lay next to the cage.
Okay, so there was a Jack Russell with the inside the house at the time, or
no, outside? Outside
as well. Yep.
And
how did they get along?
They're fine. I found my ex, Jack Russell. He wanted something a bit more bigger and nastier, so I knew what would happen if that happened. And I was able to convince him that this dog from the pound was the right one, the Jack Russell. So, and he fell in love with him very quickly. So, yeah, I was very lucky.
Mm-hmm. So how did Bailey's initial sort of training go in the first few months?
Well, I spent hours and hours with him because he was pretty much the only thing that was light in that time. So yeah, he learned very quickly. I actually was able to take him through just run for the table, and even in pet therapy as well. So he learned very quickly to, when he was needed to just sit and wait and be very gentle. He knew exactly who could be gentle and who could be a bit rougher with. He learned not to bark very, very, very quickly at night.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we just spent a lot of time trying different tricks, and yeah, because at the time it was the only thing that was really good in my life. So we spent every moment I could spare with him.
Mm-hmm. Understandable. So tell me a little bit more about the pet therapy side that he did.
Yeah, so what would happen is we'd take him, so some of the people couldn't ride the horses, so they'd have a pet, not many riding for the table have this, they have a pet therapy side. So they come in, they, touch and hold rabbits, guinea pigs, small animals,
mm-hmm.
and only a select dogs, as a lot of kids these days as well, not disabled, that are frightened of dogs. They have to be a certain size, they have to be a certain temperament, and Bailey was very good at it. He knew that I remember one day, one of the times he noticed that one of the girls was having a bit of trouble that day. So he just gently went up to her and just nudged his nose underneath her hand, and she didn't look at him. She just sat in her chair and patted him. And they sat there for about 10 minutes. And yeah, it was a very beautiful moment. Yeah. I mean, I owe my life to this dog more in a very literal sense. A very literal sense. That's why he's allowed to do the house now.
How old was Bailey when you started doing the therapy work?
He wasn't much older than when I got him, so it was maybe 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he was about 18 months old, so he was still very young. He'd always go for a good run beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he was very young and he just surprised everyone. I brought him in for, just and on a day that kids weren't there, and they did an assessment, and it was an unofficial assessment. But yeah, they let him in.
It certainly sounds like you got the right dog that you needed at the time.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
So is he a high activity dog?
When I wanted it. Growing up, he liked a good run around the park and everything, but now, being a little bit older, if I want to go for a run, he'll come for a run. If I don't, he'll happily lay around everywhere. As long as he can be with me, he's content. Which makes it very hard when I have to leave him at home to go sledding. Unfortunately, he's got separation anxiety because we hadn't been apart for so long.
Mm-hmm. And
when I figured out if he can't, I guess it's side, if he can't protect me, he threats. So if I've got, with grooming, if I have a dog that's aggressive, I can hear him inside, and he's not very happy. He's whining, and he figures out that I can't protect Mum, I can't help her. But other than that, he does come out next to the grooming table when I've got some nervous dogs and sits underneath the grooming table and almost a calming influence on the other dogs.
He's a constant fixture in your grooming business?
Well, a lot of people know him. I've got to be very careful about who he is around, because I do have a lot of farm dogs who don't get the interaction as a dog that's in town. But a lot of people know who he is, and he goes and introduces himself to a lot of my clients.
Mm-hmm. So for those people listening, you mentioned farm dogs. You would let people know whereabouts you are.
Oh yes, I'm in Young, so it's about 2.5 hours west of Canberra, 4 hours roughly from Sydney, and 3.5 hours from the Blue Mountains. So we've got a rough population of about 13,000, but that is not just a suburb, say, like Campbelltown in Sydney. It's not just a suburb. It includes almost 20 km outside of the main town centre. So we have we're the cherry capital of Australia, and we have a lot of farms that do use stock, so sheep and cattle, and wheat farms as well. So when I say property, anywhere between 100 acres to one I worked on as a teenager, 1,800 acres.
Oh, that's nice.
So a lot of open space.
And so Bailey's always had a lot of space to run around in.
Sort of, yeah, pretty much. I've got great friends who go, if you want to bring out your dogs, you want to bring Bailey out, coming out for a run, come bring him out. We don't mind. He doesn't take sheep. Because unfortunately out here, it's pretty much the harsh reality is dogs seen chasing sheep. So, farmers do have the right to shoot to kill because they are feral dogs that come out and kill their livestock. So you have to have a very well behaved dog to be able to go onto people's properties.
Mm-hmm. Understandable. So what would you say are Bailey's favourite activities?
Being with mum.
That's a given.
Yeah. His favourite activity is anything that involves mum and food. It's really hard. He doesn't. He's not really a ball chaser.
Mm-hmm.
He just wants to be where I am. So whatever I'm doing is my little, as the old song says, my shadow in me. If I go for a walk, he'll come for a walk. If I jump in the car, he wants to be in the car with me.
Mm-hmm.
It made it hard. The separation anxiety made it hard when I was fighting fires over summer. He knows what my fire gear looks like. He knows what my fire bag looks like. And I got the fire bag out and he jumped inside of it, saying, "You're not leaving me behind." I had to get him out. And then he laid on top of it, saying, "You're not going without me." And then I said, "No, I've got to go. I've got to help. I've got to help." And of course, we had a bit of an argument. And then he'd sit on my boots. And then he wouldn't let me put my boots on. And then sit in front of the door. So, yeah. He's anywhere that I am, he wants to be. He's very, very smart.
So that would mean that he has taken a few trips with you?
If I can take Bailey, I take him. So, yeah, I mean, camping was always our biggest thing. We love camping.
Mm-hmm.
And Bailey knows that swag is the most comfiest place to be.
Mm-hmm.
He used to go out in the swag, so he'd come in a single swag, he'd roll up inside. It wouldn't just be on the blanket, it'd be under the blanket. Best hot water bottle ever. Yeah, he just anywhere he can go, he will be.
Mm-hmm. How does he go when you're out camping?
Well, at sledding, if I have taken him to a sled event, and because, of course, as you know, he can't be around me all the time, he's a complete and utter mess. I've had him with my mum and my auntie. My auntie actually held him while I was doing a race. I came back and he was a complete mess. He was shaking, barking, didn't know what to do. He was telling me how dare I leave him behind. But any other camping trip where it's not involved sledding and I can be with him, he loves to explore. So he'll go and have a bit of explore, find a bit of poo to roll in.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if he finds something, he might chase a little bit, but he always comes back. Okay. Always.
Yeah. Ever had any sort of issues when you've been camping, when he's done something he might have or shouldn't have done?
As I said, he loves food. Loves food. And he comes and shows me exactly where he's rolled in. So he goes and rolls in food, and comes up, and if he's rolled his face in it, he comes and shows the side of the face that he's rolled himself.
He just wants to share.
Yeah, exactly. He goes, "Look, my perfume. This is my perfume, Mum. I've got some new perfume here, and I've got some new perfume here."
Dear.
No, he's just looking at me. I've got Bailey actually laying right next to me. He's looking at me and I said, "Yeah, I know."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm talking about you.
How is he when you have to wash that off?
Very tolerant. Extremely tolerant. As being a groomer, he's really the only dog that is very, very tolerant of getting a bath. He knows what to do, and he a few times, especially when he's covered in poo. I've gone for a shower and I've gone, right, B, come on. And he comes and he puts his head down and almost sighs and walks into the shower himself and sits there in the shower and just looks at the wall and doesn't look at me. And he won't look at me. He just, okay, do what you need to do. I try and wash his face. He won't. He'll tolerate, but he'll close his eyes so he's not looking at me. But his favourite thing afterwards is getting the towel. He loves getting rubbed down by a towel. You hold the towel out and he'll rub himself underneath it. Oh, he gets so excited when you got the towel out. And then we've got to do movements around the house. Then we've got to get the run going. He gets very, very playful after a bath.
Mm-hmm.
He gets his antler and tucks that a bit, grabs that, and then we play antler for a little bit. The only time he'll play is after a bath.
Okay.
So he doesn't really play any other time. Yeah, he's a bit funny like that.
And is he sort of like the water when you're out and about?
No. Not at all. He's only recently decided that he'll walk in a shell pool at summer because out here we get temperatures of 45 to 47 is what we got last year. And we can have that 45-degree dry heat for the whole entire week, and it doesn't get below 35. So we can have nights where it's midnight and it's 35 degrees. So he likes the shell pool. He'll stand in it. If I go, B, hop in, he'll very reluctantly climb in, and ask him to sit, and he'll look at me in an absolute disgraceful look on his face. So he'll sit in the pool. But yeah, I mean, we took him to the snow once, and he got out of the car. He had 2 coats on, a woolen underlay coat and a thermal. And he took 2 steps into the snow and 2 steps off the snow and said, "Take me back to the car." And he walked himself back to the car. Only time he hasn't whinged when he's been away from me was at the snow. He was happy to stay in the car, in the blanket. He said, "You can have this snow to yourself."
Interesting reaction, that one.
Yeah, it took me by surprise. I thought he'd at least get into the snow, but no, 2 steps onto it and 2 steps off it. And yeah, it was the one time I've almost seen a swear word come across his face. And the look of absolute disgust. How dare you get me out this cold on that wet stuff?
So did you ever had any sort of issues with the heat affecting him?
We take every precaution out here anyway. Well, yeah, no, not really, because as I said, we take every precaution. We have cooling mats and inside, well, our dogs are inside, in the aircon. But with heat, he's really funny. Because in winter, he sits in front of the heater and overheats. Won't get up. We physically have to get him up. You're panting like a dog that has never had water. So come on, get up onto the lounge and cool down, buddy. And he sits right on the heater. He won't move. So we have to physically move him. He's really odd.
Likes his warmth.
Yes. He likes the warmth, not so good with the cold, which is the only thing that him and my current partner, who's crazy, it's one of the things that they can agree on. They don't like the cold.
Think that Bailey has any other sort of interesting or weird habits?
What do you do, B? It's like when you ask what's your favourite book and you can't remember. You've forgotten every book ever read. Oh my goodness, my words today. What do you do? He does. I mean, he does like to try every time he does food. he'll try every trick he knows before he gets the right trick. So I can hold a tree or something in front of him. He'll try every trick in his repertoire. I don't have to say anything. I don't have to do anything. He'll just try every single trick he knows.
Mm-hmm.
And then once he gets the right one, he's happy about it. So he'll start with that one and then try the rest. But recently, he's got a special bed next to mine, but he sleeps in the bed, of course. When we go to bed, he'll sit on his bed, wait for me to get comfortable, and wait for me to lift the blankets up so he can crawl underneath right next to me. Mm-hmm. He'll wait there very patiently until I'm done. Until I'm comfortable in bed, and then I'll let him.
That's very nice. Very nice manners.
Yeah. I guess the funniest thing of all is a current war going on between him and my partner. It's a very innocent war. Mm-hmm. Is my man being man, no offense to any out there, let one rip, let a fart go off the lounge room, and of course it was not very pleasant on the nose. Bailey woke up, looked at him, snorted, and walked out of the room. Now, here's where it gets interesting. A couple of weeks later, I wasn't here. I was at a sled event, actually. Bailey walked into my partner's office and asked for a pat. My partner gave him a pat. Just before he walked out the door, Bailey farted and walked out of the room.
Payback.
So my partner ducked to ovens Bailey. So Bailey jumps up onto his lap on the lounge room, farts, and then jumps off again. There's a current farting going on my partner and Bailey.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that's something that you don't really want to encourage.
Well, that's the funniest thing of all. Other than the first initial fart, they don't do it when I'm around.
Oh, that's good.
It's a secret war between two boys.
Dear. So you mentioned he's not Bailey isn't a big game player, but does he have any favourite toys or anything like that?
Now it's really quite an interesting toy that we own, very, very rarely play with due to the danger of it, but is a hair tie. He loves playing with an elastic hair tie. And we can play for that for a little bit. That's the only thing that really gets him going in a small game is that hair tie. But we've got to be very careful of it because of if he ingests it, of course, it's very dangerous. So we only play it for a couple of minutes.
Okay, so what do you actually do with the hair tie?
Very gently, again, I'm very careful about it, is we wrap around his back foot. And it's not very tight, and he gets it off and then tries and then says, keep away. And then I grab it and I drag it along the floor and he starts pouncing on top of it. And then I hide it underneath a box. Get that box apart, get the hair tie. The other one, of course, is socks.
Socks.
He loves to play with socks. So if in the middle of a sock game, which it's very hard getting a sock game, but once he's in the mood, he'll play socks. You can put the sock on and he'll take it off. But to watch him do it, he very gently finds where your toes are, and then goes a millimeter off the toe, and then starts. So he'll find exactly where your toes are, not pushing them hard with his feet, and then pull it. Mm-hmm. So even in the middle of gameplay, he's very gentle.
Glad you clarified that. I was thinking you put the socks on Bailey.
Oh no, I put the socks on me.
Well, that'll help later on in life.
Yeah, very much so. Except when he tries to keep him away from me. Gets the sock and then runs off.
Fun to play.
Oh, yeah. As I said, he's not really a game player, even though what I've just said sounds like it. But when he's in the gameplay mood, he's all in. But when he doesn't want to play, he's whatever. Very blasé. Happy just to get cuddled.
Just enjoys chilling out.
Yeah. And he knows one of the other things he likes doing is going to Nan, which is my mum, who lives 4 houses down. And we can be on the way there, and I can go, okay, B, go to Nan's, and he'll run to the front door. And he taught Merrick, Poodle, my mum's dog, everything that dog knows. And he tolerates Merrick, and he comes back home with very, very wet ears. But he plays with Merrick, and because Merrick's so tall, Bailey can stand underneath him. Mm-hmm. So they have a good play, but always comes home with a sopping wet ears and sopping wet head. And then he knows exactly how to he gets onto something and knows how to get away from it. Just stop for a bit, and then he'll play again. He'll grab one of Merrick's toys and run up, kick Merrick away from it. And if it's a squeaky toy, he'll find the squeak, kill the squeak, and then dispose of it. So just let it go.
One of the questions I ask everyone is to complete the sentence. I can't believe my dog ate
my chocolate bar.
Your chocolate bar.
Yes. He ate a chocolate bar. But I scared the living daylights out of me because I thought, chocolate is not good for dogs, so I was watching him, making sure he was okay, and then found out that half the chocolate bar was eaten by my partner. So it was only half.
Poor old Bailey got the blame.
If you ask that question again, the other one would be an entire contents of a value pack Schmackos. So the 2 packets of Schmackos. The big one, the entire lot.
How was the water bowl after that?
Empty. We always refilled and everything anyway. He's got 3 in the house. But farts that night, oh my God. Both Bailey and I were kicked out in the lounge room. Because my beautiful partner knows Bailey fret if I'm not in the room, so we both slept on the lounge. It was rotten.
Any other sort of adventures come to mind with you and Bailey?
Well, as I mentioned before, I guess the thing about B is I wouldn't be here talking to you if it wasn't for him. During that really dark time, he physically stopped me from ending it, so ending the pain and misery. So he broke through screen doors, help, and so he's really my hero dog. So when it comes to adventures, every moment I can spend with this incredible creature is a blessing.
It's something you can't really put into words.
No, he's. I get told a lot by my family that Bailey's not. Everyone knows my family. Bailey's not a dog. He's a human.
Mm-hmm.
And he's treated as such. And I've been close to cancelling plans because something's been wrong, but he's always pulled through and we've been able to go along with those plans. And my family often ask, how are you? How's Bailey? They're the first 2 questions. So he's my special boy.
A very special boy.
Oh, very much. My partner often says, you and Bailey are two keys in a pod. You act like owner, like dog.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a mirror, I could put you in dog form. We've got Bailey. So yeah, any adventure that we can, every day adventure, and I can spend any time I can with him.
Well, certainly sounds
So,
like a perfect match.
Oh yeah, my partner knows Bailey first and second, and he is treated like a king. So not many people sit in my partner's chair, but Bailey gets played.
Mm-hmm.
And my partner was no dogs inside growing up, and even before he met me, no dogs inside. And he's Bailey underneath the blanket of the bed. Yeah, he says to me, well, I wouldn't have you if it wasn't for him, so I owe him you. So I'll treat him as such.
That's beautiful to hear.
Yeah. And yeah, he knew I was going to be nervous for the podcast, so he's currently right next to me, as he always is, with his head on my knees.
Oh, yeah. Nothing to be nervous about. You're doing extremely well.
Same. But yeah, you asked about funny things that he does. If you get your 24-hour stomach flus. If I'm in the bathroom, as you do, being sick, and you don't want your partner to know being sick for some silly reason, my partner goes, "You all right?" And yeah, I go, "Yeah, I'm fine." He goes, "You're throwing up, aren't you?" No, he goes, "Sweetheart, your dog's staring at me like I'm a suspicious person walking down the street. He's sitting in front of the toilet door like a statue. Come on, tell me he knows exactly. Bailey will sit in front of me if I'm feeling nervous or anything. He'll sit in front of me and just sit, just watch." And being with my partner recently for like past 5 years, if we're having an argument which goes into the night, we go to bed, Bailey will actually lay between us. So right, you two, break it up. Break it up, you two. We don't need this.
Mm.
Both of you can do your own thing. He'll stay there until one of us reaches out to the other person, and then he's very good at monitoring what the situation is. And if I'm stressed, Bailey gets told that. He gets very up to him and gets pats, and he runs to me, runs back to him, and goes, "Right, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt her. She's fine. I'm here to help." And then Bailey goes back to bed. He's very in tune. He's the most incredible creature I have ever met. He is so in tune with me that I don't even know when I'm nervous. But, you don't realise your anxiety level as high as you think it is, but Steve lets me know.
Beautiful story.
Yeah, sometimes I can't believe it myself.
Sometimes it's just a way that sort of life and karma and things work.
Oh yeah, I'm a firm believer that if you ask for help, help will come. And I needed help at that time. The moment he arrived, was the moment I started looking to get the courage to leave. So ask for help and help will come. One form or another.
In many times in unexpected ways.
Oh, yes. Very much.
I want to say thank you very much for sharing some of Bailey's story and for being so open and sharing some of your story and the story of you guys together.
Thank you for having me.
I get you can't really, from what you've said, you can't really mention one without the other.
No, we come as a package. It's unfortunate. I'd love to have him at sled events, but you two is anxiety. I don't want to put any more stress on him than absolutely necessary. So my partner makes sure that he's very well looked after while I'm gone.
Sure that he does.
Oh yeah. Then we spend some extra time when I get home. Just him and me. Just to make sure that he knows that I'm fine. He gives me a sniff over, gives me a physical check really. And then he's happy.
I'm sure he knows.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say before we wrap up, do you want to give your business a little plug?
Sure. So, I'm a self-employed owner operator of Two Left Paws Grooming, operating out of Young, New South Wales, Australia, and we do everything from just we simplify bathing to clips to colours to we don't just dogs either. Recently we've been doing cats, rabbits, and I like to say I like to specialise in massive animals as well as anxious animals. We specialise in taking the time to learn your pet. So if I've got an anxious animal on the table, I'll spend an extra whatever time that animal needs. We are welfare over vanity.
Very, very nice. So hopefully there'll be some people that start listening in Young and they'll come and see you.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks for having me.
It was my pleasure.
And give your girl a hug for me.
Oh, I definitely will. Most definitely. Thank you very much again.
No worries.
Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed hearing all about Bailey. If you think this podcast would be of value to someone else, please let them know. Thank you very much again. Until next week, remember, your dog is family.